What do Elon Musk, Satya Nadella, Indra Nooyi, and Sundar Pichai all have in common? They all, at some point, were in the United States on an H-1B visa. This is a story about putting a price on opportunity, like a $100,000 price. Last month, President Trump responded to years of complaints about how the much sought-after H-1B visa for admission to the U.S. gets awarded.
The country would rather not have to pay $100,000. How do you do that? You hire Americans.
$100,000 fee is a huge, huge increase on that. This is very significant for these organizations. And just to sort of highlight how big this change is, the fees for an H-1B visa, they've never been cheap, right? So they have ranged from $3,000 to $10,000, which is not minor.
That $100,000 price tag is sure to hit the highly skilled people coming to the U.S. each year. People like Vijay Ravi.
I actually did my bachelor's in India. Then after that, I decided that, I really wanted to do more in life and have more opportunities. So that's when I decided, okay, let me go to the United States.
Ravi lived in the U.S. for 6 years on an H-1B visa. He came from India, the country that uses the visa more than any other, and earned his master's degree in data science at the University of Texas at Dallas.
I got my first job in Miami. It was a great achievement for me. It was my first real job. And I was really lucky because my H-1B got picked in the first attempt itself. I was so excited that, my stay in US was actually solid, it's like settled. And then I got another job in New York City. It was for an advertising company. And the H-1B transfer process also was very smooth.
But then things changed.
I did around 3 years at that company and I was laid off, unfortunately. I must have applied for around 1,000 to 2,000 jobs in 3 months. I actually got a lot of interviews actually, but in the end, in the final round or in the second round, they're like, oh, we cannot sponsor the H-1B. After 2 months, I understood this is just going to get worse.
Ravi's H-1B visa was part of a program that began in 1990, designed to let highly skilled workers into the country from abroad.
They've been around since the Immigration Act of 1990, and actually, there's been almost no change to them since then.
Britta Glennon is an assistant professor at Penn's Wharton School of Business who has studied the effects of the H-1B visa program on business and the economy.
They're a skilled immigrant visa, so they're primarily used for those who have at least a bachelor's degree, if not, master's or PhD. They're really the primary skilled employment visa for immigrants. They are tied to a firm, right? So something that's sort of important to recognize is that you actually cannot get an H-1B visa without an employer sponsoring you. And the employer actually, they're the ones who submit the application, not the individual.
The U.S. limits H-1B visas to 65,000 each year, with 20,000 additional visas for those getting graduate degrees from U.S. institutions. But several times that number apply, which has led the U.S. to create a lottery to pick visa winners, and to criticism about the overall approach.
It's pretty clear that we need more than 85,000, and just the fact that demand is so much higher than supply every single year, I think exemplifies that. I mean, when it was first formed, demand was below the cap. They ended up raising the cap in the late 90s because demand started growing as you had kind of the internet boom, right? And Silicon Valley became much more significant. And then that expired in 2004, and basically since then, supply and demand have been on completely different trajectories.
The big mismatch between supply and demand has created large business opportunities for companies not looking for skilled employees themselves, but to getting visas for workers they can provide to the companies needing them. In 2023, nearly half of the H-1Bs went to outsourcing or staffing companies. Todd Schulte is the president of FWD.US, a company that focuses on reforming the U.S. immigration and criminal justice systems.
So there's been, over the years, efforts by companies, and I would say a lot of bad actors, to basically kind of game any particular system here. Really, it's a function of Congress has failed to update our immigration system in a lot of ways here.
Jure Leskovec is a computer science professor at Stanford, but he's also the founder of AI tech startup Kumo.ai, the sort of company that the H-1B visa was supposed to help.
Lottery, I think, doesn't make sense, right? Lottery, maybe large organizations who are able to sponsor many visas and kind of play the numbers game, they can deal with that. But if you think of a small garage startup with 3 employees who want to sponsor 1 or 2 visas, and the probability of them getting that visa is maybe 10-20%, it puts a huge risk at this startup being able to grow, being able to hire, and being able to move fast.
As many problems as there may be with the old H-1B system, it's far from clear that imposing a $100,000 fee will make things better.
The problem with this is that it may have unintended consequences because small organizations, small startups won't be able to afford that large of a price. And this is going to, maybe in the short term, we won't see the negative effect of this, but in the long term, the most innovative companies of the drivers of today's economy started as small garage startups. And if we are killing these most innovative companies that are kind of just being able to be born and kind of slowing their progress, that is going to have tremendous effect on our economy.
How do you set up a recruitment process where you're picking and choosing on the front end who you think is worthy of an additional $100,000? How do you scale that? And the answer is you can't. So there may be ways that they may be able to try to find ways to get some of these people to come here, but there's no consistency to that. It's not about getting, for big companies, 1 or 2 people. It's about how do you get the right number of people each year. What about small companies? I mean, if you're a 6-person startup and 2 people need a $100,000 H-1B visa fee, well, okay, like what if you only have $100,000? Are you picking and choosing? And the answer is, we're gonna hurt small companies, we're gonna hurt big companies. And then for research universities, there's no university in the United States, no matter how wealthy, who can sit around and say, we're gonna pick and choose on the front end each year who's worthy of an additional $100,000 fee. So that means scientific innovation is going to happen, but it's going to happen in other countries. We're going to have less innovation, we're going to be a sicker country, and the things that we've talked about doing, bringing manufacturing back, creating jobs for everybody here, just isn't going to happen.
It appears that the Trump administration's new $100,000 visa fee may already be having a chilling effect. Walmart, the largest H-1B retail user, has announced that it will no longer sponsor applicants. On the other hand, NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang praised the announcement. And just last week, the DHS clarified that college graduates on student visas and certain foreign workers already living in the U.S. will not have to pay the hefty fee.
There's been some confusion, I think. So when it was first announced, it sounded like all H-1B visas would have to have a $100,000 fee, maybe annually. It's still not clear whether it's annual, whether it's one time, whether it applies to new, whether it applies to continuing, whether it applies to for-profits as well as nonprofits and universities.
An arbitrary lottery or charging $100,000 aren't the only 2 ways of allowing highly skilled workers into the United States. Several countries limit those admitted not by the numbers, but by the skills they bring with them.
Countries like Canada, Australia, New Zealand, to some degree the UK, all use a points-based system where they basically say, we're going to allocate points for different qualifications. So we're going to say, if you have a PhD, you get a certain number of points. If you speak English, you get a certain number of points. If you're in a high-demand field, you get a certain number of points. So their view is clearly that you just allow in sort of as many high-skilled immigrants as possible.
Having employers bid in an auction for highly skilled workers is another possibility.
A market-driven mechanism would be something like an auction where firms could actually bid on H-1B visas, and then it would really be the firms and the market determining the right price. $100,000, that's arbitrarily chosen by the government. This is absolutely not a market mechanism.
There may be no perfect way to put a price on opportunity for highly skilled workers wanting to come to the United States, but getting it wrong could lead the workers we need to look for opportunity elsewhere.
One way to think about it is, if you make this so expensive here, 1, it's going to stop people from getting this way, but 2, it's going to push back here, and now you as universities aren't nearly as attractive, right? So if these coming out are going to cost you an extra $100,000, trying really hard to make it so that, the University of Texas in Austin is a top US university. It's just a lot less appealing if you can't stay in the United States. So we're like pushing backwards in harmful ways, and we're pushing forward in harmful ways here.
Are you limited in your growth at your startup company by an insufficient supply of highly skilled people coming from abroad?
Definitely. Just a few years ago, about 60% of AI talent was based in the United States. Now that number has dropped to 40%. And I think having access to the top talent, being able to hire quickly and being able to grow and scale is the only way how US is going to remain competitive in this environment.
Which takes us back to the H-1B recipient Vijay Ravi, who came to the U.S. to get his graduate degree and become a part of the American workforce, but ran into stiff resistance and is now pursuing his opportunity in his native India.
You can live a really, really good life in the United States, but with the current administration, I don't recommend them to come to the United States right now. And I myself wouldn't think of coming to the United States because right now I feel like I have a very good lifestyle. I have a good work-life balance. I get to travel and I get to work at the same time, and trading that for the immigration stress I get in the United States, I can't even think about it. It's too much for me to handle.